Hey guys, welcome to Mitch's Music. And this morning we are going to talk about using chords in a major key. So this week it's been all about just the very basics of music theory. So if you're interested in getting your feet wet a little bit, then go back and watch the videos from Monday through today. This is my last video of this week, and I'll be back next week. And next week, I'm actually gonna start breaking down some songs again, sort of like tutorial videos on specific songs. But I'm gonna take some of the things that we learned this week and start to analyze those songs in sort of the way they use chords, like I'm going to talk about today. So going back to the beginning, we learned that notes in a scale, or notes in general, are broken down into half steps and whole steps. Then we got into the makeup of a major scale, and that is an arrangement of whole and half steps. So for a major scale, it's whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. We figured out the notes of a couple of major scales, and then on Tuesday, we talked about major, minor, diminished, augmented chords and how to make them. And then yesterday, we talked about what types of chords are in a major key. And so let me go back over the chords on a major key. And I've been using G major. This is a common key. But let me go, you can use these concepts in any key, because in um, in a major scale, the chords kind of follow the same pattern based off of how the scale, like this is not altering any notes, just making that major scale off of whole and half steps and making chords off of the notes in that scale. So this is just what you would get if you played chords using only the notes in the scale. So in a G major scale, the one chord, the G chord, would be major. The two chord, the A minor chord, would be minor. The three chord, the B chord, would be minor. The four chord would be major, the C chord. The five chord would be major, the D chord. The six chord would be minor, the E minor chord. And then the seven chord would be diminished. All right, and so today we're going to talk about we're not necessarily going to talk about how to use those chords. We're going to talk about some relationships that the chords have, because the chords from here are turned into scale degrees that we call tonic, subdominant, and dominant. And then most people just leave it there. When I was in college, we had a mediant and a submediant too. So I'm going to go with those terms. But really, we're going to talk about some ways that these chords can work together, and maybe really what if you're writing a song, one thing that you could take from this is seeing which chords are related, and instead of maybe going to a one chord, maybe changing it to one of the chords that are related and just see whether or not you like it. This is when you can start using chord substitution to flavor your songs a little bit differently. So the one chord is called the tonic chord. And in G, it has G, B, and D. All right. So those notes are going to become pretty important as we go through the chords. So G, B, and D, those are the tonic notes. Those are kind of the feeling that you have resolved. So that's your resolution at the end. Normally a song will end on the tonic or the one chord. All right. So G, B, and D, one chord. A minor has A, C, and E. So it doesn't share anything with the one chord. So this is called a subdominant chord, and a subdominant chord is a chord that really is constantly moving. Like it doesn't have much stability as far as staying put. So for instance, this A minor chord, if you have a 4 chord somewhere, so a C and G, you could try to substitute with an A minor and just see how you like it. That could be a little bit different. So the A minor chord is moving, and you'll notice that it is going to be similar to that C coming up. All right, the next one is the B minor, and it has B, D, and F sharp in it. All right, this one, some people now are referring to it as another tonic chord. So there are 3 tonic chords, the 1, the 3, and the 6. I call it the mediant. And so it could be a substitute for just going back to a 1 chord again. It could also be a use to go from 1 to 3 to 4. So like, so that's kind of a nice progression. Or so like just to see if so let's just say I sub that C with an A minor. So see, both of them kind of work. They both kind of feel right. But the B minor is called the mediant chord. People use that a lot. They'll make it major sometimes. So like, and then normally they would go to like an E minor after that. And that's kind of a progression we'll get into, talk about a little bit later. So we've got G, A minor, which doesn't share anything with the tonic chord. B minor, which shares 2 notes with the tonic chord, so it's very similar and can be subbed with the tonic. C is another subdominant, so it's our 4 chord and it's another subdominant. So it's one that doesn't share any notes with the tonic chord, except for G. This one actually does share one. And like I said, it is normally moving to something else, normally a dominant chord. So normally you have a progression that just goes 1, 4, 5, right? All right. So the next chord is the 5 chord. The 5 chord is the chord that wants to resolve. So the 5 chord normally goes to 1 or one of the subdominant chords there is a deceptive cadence, which would be going from like 1 to 6. So you hear some people, if they want to do a tag at the end of the song, they'll go from 5 to 6. And we'll get into specifics later as we're going through the songs. If this interests you, just send me some songs that you'd like to know how the chords work, and I'll analyze those. So 5 is normally going to resolve to a 1. All right. Then 6 is another minor chord. This is another one that shares a couple of notes with our tonic chord. So it's another good substitute, like I just showed you with the D to the E minor. And it can be used several times if you don't want to resolve to that tonic. So E minor is the 6, and it's another, this, I said subdominant. This is a submediant chord, or a tonic chord, depending on who you listen to. And then the last one is the F sharp diminished, and that is is a dominant chord, and normally they're not used unless you'll hear it if you're playing like a D7. That's actually giving you that same sound, and it makes up the notes of that chord, because really it's just that diminished. This one has a diminished note. If you remember the chords about um, so the a 7 chord has a diminished fifth in it, going up to the 7th, and so that kind of wants to collapse in on itself, and especially if you're using on a 5 chord, it's going to want to go to 1, and it sounds nice and resolved. This sounds at tension, and it wants to move to something else. All right, guys, that's the run through. Let me go through them one more time. So you've got tonic, you've got subdominant, that's is 2, and that one shares nothing with the 1 chord. You've got the mediant, which shares some with the 1 chord. You've got the 4, which is a subdominant. You've got the dominant, 5. You've got the submediant of 6, which also can be subbed for the 1 chord. And then you've got the dominant 7, which, like I said, is not used as much, but you could use it to resolve to 1. See how that works. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And next week, I'm going to dive into teaching some songs. I've got some requests. They're on the list, I promise. We'll do those next week in the morning, so be looking for the live stream. And if you have a request that I'm doing, I will comment below your comment and let you know where you can find it. All right, guys, click that subscribe button. Look for Tubular Bells coming out today, I hope. And just keep liking my videos and sending me requests. And I will see you guys here on Monday. See ya. Have a good weekend.